Hi, this is Dr. Gurley back with her scratchy voice to review draft 2 of the student's essay on the sermons, the essay of Betty Fabulous. So I don't have as much to say about this revision for a number of reasons. And first, what I will say is that this revision did actually receive a lower grade than the first draft. I've already spoken with this student who need not feel badly about that. But let me explain why. So it's good for you to see a draft like this. If you review my feedback on this paper in the first lecture on on draft 1, you'll see that almost none of the advice and the instructions I gave for revision were followed, right? And we'll go through, and let me say a few things in defense of this student first. This is someone whose writing I've seen a great deal of, and this person's letting herself, I think, be overwhelmed by Emerson. And also, I had discussed the revision with this person and not given feedback in writing. So without having access to a recording, as she hadn't, as you all have now, in response to her work, I think it's kind of easy to forget what's discussed in office hours sometimes if there's not enough time to take notes and things like that. So she need not fear, because I will be looking for improvement after this, but this is actually a good way for all of you to see that I really mean it when I say revise your papers and pay attention to my instructions. Okay? So again, not her fault. I think, partly her fault. She's going to laugh at that. Not her fault because I didn't provide detailed written feedback or provide her a video ahead of time, so she didn't have anything to sort of keep looking back on and thinking about as you all have with your papers. Okay? But I know she's going to do a great job on the next set of essays, and I know her grades will continue to improve. So this essay is going from a C- to a D. It's getting a lower grade because there were only what I would call cosmetic changes made, small changes. The essay was not thoroughly revised as it needed to be. And again, as she may have forgotten, it needed to be. So if we look at the first paragraph, there's some changes here that we'll discuss. And actually, let me backtrack a little bit. Let me review briefly what I wanted this essay to do. And this will sound much like what you've read in the comments alongside your own papers. So I asked her, as you recall, to get rid of the generalities and the vagueness, to state one precise claim about why she thinks Emerson has this faith in people, or why she thinks highly of him and why it matters. I asked her to define her terms right away in the first paragraph, to name the sermons, to actually name what she's responding to, and then to create 2 more paragraphs after that introduction. One focused on point 1 in support of the idea that Emerson has faith in man, the idea that he finds that man is capable of improvement, is not incapable of improvement, but is in fact very capable of improvement because he was made in God's image. We need a full explanation of that. We need all textual evidence for that point in that second paragraph. In the second paragraph, we would want it explained. Recall your Graf and Birkenstein reading on drive-by quotations. We want quotations fully explained. The sandwich metaphor, introduce the quotation or the evidence, and then explain the evidence. Don't assume that it's clear to your readers. So you've read that, you know to do that now. We'll be practicing how to do that all term. So don't worry about it, but do be thinking about it. Then we wanted a third paragraph, or I wanted a third paragraph here with 1 point, right? And that 1 point being that Emerson also thinks highly of man because he respects his ability or capacity for resisting temptation and overcoming failure, two related ideas. So again, we would want that idea to be the focus of one paragraph. We would want the textual evidence or support in one paragraph. We would want that explained thoroughly. Then we would want here a fourth paragraph, the conclusion, developing one precise implication of what's been said. Your implication, again, can be positive, negative, something in between, but it must be precise. Don't generalize and be vague. And this conclusion is basically exactly the same. Okay, so we had not really gotten to the details of this conclusion. I hadn't with this student, but she knows from having written for me many times before that she needs one precise point and one precise example, and I'm sure she'll work on that now in subsequent drafts. I do think people that some of you are probably letting yourselves get a little intimidated by Emerson because of the difficulty, and I get that, but you'll get over it as we work more on him and you become more comfortable writing about him. So the conclusion needed to state one precise reason that Betty Fabulous finds this faith in humanity refreshing, and why exactly that makes him more approachable, and why exactly it's a good thing that Emerson is more approachable. Why would we perhaps want some particular person to listen more carefully to Emerson? We certainly don't want all of our children, shall we say, listening to everybody who's approachable, right? You can think of lots of examples there. So we need to make that case. So none of that was really done, and she'll do it next time, I'm sure. Let me say a few things about the first paragraph. I want all of you to really work on getting rid of these generalities. So Ralph Waldo Emerson, first sentence, was a very interesting writer. Like the previous opening sentence in the first draft says nothing, okay? And then the rest of it was not done, changed, except to say the other generalities were cut, but that one replaced the 3 opening sentences of generalities. Get rid of all of this stuff in general. I want everyone to work on that. I've read all the first drafts now, and there's far too much of that in your papers, okay? So providing background or saying something specific to set up your claim, that can work, and that's a very different thing, but all of these generalities are not helpful. They're not background, they're not setup. So just get into what you have to say. I am sure that this paper does not want to make the claim that Emerson was an interesting writer. Okay, so then we have cleaned up. We've gotten rid of the term philosopher, which was good. And we close the paragraph with, he has faith in man and acknowledges our great potential. Okay, good start, but the essay was not organized around paragraphs defining particular parts, different ideas that help to support that claim. We'd also need to define in some way, well, I'll hold off on that. I've said what I've had to say about the second draft. So when you're revising your essays, when I say thoroughly revise, I mean thoroughly revise. I don't mean go through and pay attention to some of the things that I instructed you to do. I want you to pay attention to all of them. So read, if you're having trouble or struggling a little bit, that's fine. I want to see the attempt, okay? If I revise, for example, if I say, look at the formatting instructions again, and you're having trouble and you don't know what I mean, I'm not going to say anything more yet until I see you go back and attempt to read them again and follow them carefully, okay? If I say, revise according to this outline, and I've provided, say, a 3-paragraph outline, or a 5-paragraph outline, or a 6-paragraph outline, and you turn in some different number, you've not paid attention to what I've said. You've not then really followed the whole line of argument that I'm helping you to set up. If you've just nixed a paragraph, that would just kind of destroy everything. If, for example, I say to write a concrete, specific conclusion with one precise implication, and again, you just simply repeat everything you've said, or you give me exactly the same thing, that's not a revision, right? That's not even trying. So I'm giving you negative examples of what not to do. The positive is just do your best to follow what I said. If I say use textual evidence and you use it and you think you've explained clearly what you found in the text and you're not doing the best job of it, that's totally fine. I want to see the attempt. That's what we're here to work on. If I tell you in some precise way to work on your sentences and you do a little bit better, but you're not writing great sentences yet, or your strongest possible sentences, totally fine. Totally what I expect. If I say work on your sentences and you don't change them, you totally ignore that and you pay only attention to the outline, that's not really trying. That's not really putting in a full effort, okay? So I expect, as I was saying in class, I do expect it to take easily 3 hours for you to write each of these essay drafts. So whether you're writing a first draft or a second draft, plan on spending easily 3 hours just writing, okay? If you expect, that is, to shoot for an A in the class. If you don't expect to get that or care about that, then spend an hour, right? And I'm just saying that by way of standards and by way of, what I know from 100,000 years of writing, how long it takes to do something actually really well, okay? Writing's not easy. It's difficult to do well. It's very easy just to pump out words. It's not easy to sculpt and polish them and be as clear as you possibly can, and to sharpen and improve your prose and use the best evidence and make sure that you're focused, that your connections are clear, that your paragraphs each have one idea, that you're actually saying something, that you're defining your terms, that your conclusion develops one precise implication. I just raced through all of that because I've explained those pieces in detail throughout these lectures, okay? So do your best, and after you receive my next round of feedback on your revision, I'm happy to meet with anyone one-on-one if you have particular questions. But don't fret. We're working all term on this. I expect to see your grades go up and up and up, and I expect you to work hard if you want to do well. And these really were a good, very good first set of first drafts. Lots of really interesting stuff and lots of care and attention. But now I want you to do better. I want you to be as careful as you can, okay? So I think that is all I have to say about this one. I will sign off and post this lecture for you.